Imagine an aircraft that can fly higher than 15,000 meters or over 50,000 feet and travel almost 10,000 kilometers without refueling. It can carry massive payloads, including 18,000 kilograms of bombs, and hit targets with pinpoint accuracy, all while remaining invisible to enemy radar. It looks like something straight out of a science fiction movie: no tail, no fuselage, and a design that seems more like it was grown rather than built. This isn't some futuristic fantasy, it's the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, one of the most advanced and expensive planes ever created. Each one costs over $2 billion, making it the most expensive aircraft in the world. But what makes the B-2 so special? How does this massive bomber manage to remain invisible to radar, and why is it so expensive? Let's dive into the incredible story behind this technological marvel. One of the first things you'll notice about the B-2 is its unique flying wing design. Unlike traditional aircraft, which have a distinct fuselage and tail, the B-2 has no separate body parts, just one sleek, continuous shape. This flying wing design is a key reason why the B-2 is so stealthy. The flying wing concept itself isn't new. In fact, it's been around since the early 20th century. Back in 1904, British engineer John W. Dunne started experimenting with wing shapes that could be more stable and efficient than the standard designs. His idea was to have wings that were progressively angled from root to tip, creating natural stability and helping the aircraft avoid dangerous spins. This innovative thinking laid the groundwork for the flying wing concept we see in the B-2 today. Fast forward to the 1980s, and Northrop Grumman took this concept to new heights. The B-2 was designed with the goal of being undetectable to enemy radar. To achieve this, engineers used special materials and shapes that absorbed and scattered radar waves, making it nearly invisible to enemy defenses. But that's not all. Despite its large size, the B-2 can fly long distances, reach high altitudes, and penetrate even the most heavily defended airspace without being detected. This makes it a powerful weapon in modern warfare. Its ability to fly undetected while carrying large payloads of bombs makes it a game-changer in military technology. Why does all of this come with such a staggering price tag? The B-2's advanced design, stealth technology, and expensive materials come at a cost. In fact, each B-2 bomber costs more than $2 billion to build, making it one of the most expensive aircraft ever produced. So, what exactly makes the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber such an extraordinary piece of engineering? It's the combination of cutting-edge technology, a radically new flying wing design, and the ability to carry out complex missions without being detected. All of these factors come together to make the B-2 not just a plane, but a revolutionary weapon in the sky. If you've ever wondered how military aircraft can remain invisible to radar or how modern bombers can strike targets with deadly precision, the B-2 Spirit is a perfect example. This aircraft's combination of stealth, range, and payload capability is like nothing else flying today. What if I told you that over a century ago, an airplane design was created that was so stable, the pilot could literally take his hands off the controls mid-flight? Sounds incredible, right? This is the story of J.W. Dunne's groundbreaking aircraft and how it changed the future of aviation. Stick around to find out why his designs were so ahead of their time and what happened to them. In 1910, J.W. Dunne, an early aviation pioneer, built an aircraft called the D-5. But this wasn't just any plane. Unlike previous designs, the D-5 was incredibly stable, which meant the pilot didn't have to constantly adjust the controls to keep the plane flying straight. What made it so special? The D5 had wings with a unique downward angle, known as an anhedral, which helped the plane stay stable during flight. Even more innovative were the wingtip surfaces called elevons that combined the functions of ailerons and elevators, allowing the pilot to control the aircraft's pitch and roll with ease. There was no traditional tail, just pure aerodynamic design. The D5 even caught the attention of Orville Wright, one of the Wright brothers. In fact, he witnessed the D5's first successful flight, which covered 24 miles. This was the first time a plane flew with such inherent stability, meaning it didn't require constant manual control. Dunn even reported being able to release the controls and take notes mid-flight. Despite the success, the D5 didn't become the next big thing in aviation. In fact, the military rejected it. Why? Because it was too stable, making it sluggish in the air. Imagine that, an airplane so safe, it couldn't perform well in combat situations. So, why did this historic plane disappear into obscurity? And Dunn wasn't alone in his pursuit of stability. Other innovators, like Jeffrey T.R. Hill, tried to improve on Dunn's work and take the concept of the flying wing further. But even their designs struggled to find military interest. The D5 was arguably the world's first flying wing, even though some purists might argue it wasn't quite there yet. But imagine if this type of aircraft had been adopted earlier, would aviation history look different today? Could a more stable, safer plane have revolutionized air travel sooner? So, what happened to the flying wing? And why did these revolutionary designs get left behind? Did we miss out on a safer, more stable aircraft? Stick with me to discover how the flying wing almost changed the world and why we still haven't fully embraced it. Have you ever heard of the world's first rocket-powered aircraft? It was a groundbreaking design, but also one of the most dangerous ever created. Today, we are diving into the story of the Go-29, a unique Nazi aircraft that almost changed the course of aviation history. But what went wrong? Stay with us to find out how this radical plane almost made it to the battlefield and why it's still remembered as one of the deadliest machines ever designed. In the early days of aviation, engineers like Lippisch and the Horten brothers were pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Lippisch was one of the first to design rocket-powered planes, and he played a major role in the development of aircraft like the infamous Me-163 Comet. This fighter was fast, but it was also a death trap for the pilots who flew it. Inspired by Lippisch, the Horten brothers, who were passionate about gliding, took their skills and knowledge and began experimenting with a radical new design, the flying wing. Their idea was simple but bold: remove the tail to reduce drag, making the aircraft faster and more efficient. By the early 1940s, their design, the Horten H-4 proved to be surprisingly effective. It reached speeds of up to 200 km per hour, showing potential far beyond any traditional plane. Their work caught the attention of the German Air Ministry, especially after they were given a tough challenge: build a bomber that could carry 1,000 kilograms of bombs, fly 1,000 kilometers, and reach speeds of 1,000 kilometers per hour. The Horten brothers believed their flying wing design was the answer, and in 1943, they submitted their proposal for a jet-powered bomber. The Luftwaffe, German Air Force, was impressed enough to approve it. The project was handed over to Gotha, a company that would help build the aircraft, now known as the Go-29. The Go-29 was unlike anything seen before. With a sleek, tailless design, It looked futuristic and dangerous. But there was a problem: it was very difficult to fly. Without a vertical tail, the plane was unstable, and pilots had to work hard to keep it under control. The plane also used large, powerful jet engines that were so big they didn't fit properly inside the wings at first. This meant the first prototype had to be tested as a glider before the engines were properly installed. As the war dragged on, the Go-29 went through several stages of development. The first flight with jet engines finally happened in 1945, but the plane's instability remained a problem. It required constant input from the pilot to stay in the air. Despite these challenges, when the aircraft was tested, it reached speeds of 950 kilometers per hour, proving it could meet the Luftwaffe's speed requirements. Sadly, the Go-29 never saw combat. In February 1945, during a test flight, the engine caught fire and the pilot was forced to crash land. The aircraft was damaged, and soon after, the war ended. By the time the Go-29 was ready for production, American forces had taken control of the factory where it was being built. Only a few prototypes were ever completed. One of the most complete prototypes was shipped to the United States for evaluation, but it never flew again. Today, this plane remains an iconic example of what could have been. So, what would have happened if the Go-29 had made it into combat? Could this cutting-edge aircraft have changed the outcome of World War II? Or would it have been just another deadly experiment that cost lives? To this day, it's still considered one of the most fascinating what-ifs in aviation history. Did you know that one of the world's first stealth aircraft wasn't made by the US or Russia, but by Nazi Germany? Today, we are diving into the story of the Horten Ho-29, a revolutionary flying wing design that some say was history's first stealth fighter. But does it really deserve that title? Stick with me to find out the truth behind this fascinating aircraft and the genius who dreamed of it. The Horten Ho-29 was a cutting-edge design by the Horten brothers during World War II. Its unique flying wing shape and wooden construction made it look like it could be stealthy, possibly even invisible to radar. In fact, some say it was the world's first stealth fighter. But that's not exactly true. In 2008, Northrop Grumman, an American aircraft manufacturer, built a full-sized wooden mock-up of the Ho-29 and tested it on a radar range in Dayton, California. The results: the aircraft wasn't nearly as stealthy as people thought. It was only about 90% as radar reflective as the German Bf-109, the main fighter of the time. The Horten brothers had used a special paint they claimed contained graphite, which might have helped reduce radar detection. But tests showed that graphite isn't great at absorbing radar on its own, and the Ho-229's metal parts, like its cockpit frame and engines, made it easier to detect. So, while the Ho-29 was a groundbreaking design with its flying wing shape, it wasn't the first stealth fighter. That idea would be perfected much later in the B-2 Spirit bomber, which used similar flying wing concepts to reduce radar detection. But the story doesn't end there. The Ho-29 was just one part of a much larger, more ambitious plan by the Horten brothers. They dreamt of a huge, jet-powered flying wing bomber, the Horten Ho-18, with a wingspan of 40 meters. This monster could have crossed the Atlantic and attacked cities like New York. And they even planned a civilian version, a flying wing airliner to carry 60 passengers in comfort across the ocean. Sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But the war ended before they could build it. And while the Ho-29 might not have been the world's first stealth fighter, the Horton brothers' flying wing concept was far ahead of its time. The B-2 Spirit, the stealth bomber we know today, is based on ideas that started with these German pioneers. Imagine, the design of one of today's most advanced aircraft began with two brothers and their vision of a flying wing. After the war, one of the Horton brothers, Reimar, moved to Argentina and continued to work on aviation projects. He even designed a cargo plane, the FM-1A38, based on the flying wing idea. But like many of their ideas, it didn't take off. Meanwhile, the flying wing concept lived on, thanks to innovators like Jack Northrop, an American aviation legend. Northrop's work with flying wing aircraft led to the creation of the famous B-2 Spirit, which still flies today as one of the most stealthy and powerful bombers in the world. So, while the Horton Ho-29 wasn't a true stealth fighter, its legacy lives on in modern aviation. If you are into aviation history, technology, or even sci-fi, the story of the flying wing is definitely worth knowing. Did you know that a secret aircraft design almost took over military and civilian aviation? Imagine a plane without a tail or fuselage, just one giant wing. This was the vision of aviation pioneer Jack Northrop, whose groundbreaking work on flying wing aircraft changed the future of flight. In today's video, we are diving into the incredible history of the flying wing, its ups and downs, and how it almost revolutionized aviation. Back in the late 1920s, Northrop's journey began with the development of the N-1M, a subscale flying wing aircraft. It wasn't like anything else in aviation at the time. Instead of the traditional design with a fuselage, tail, and wings, Northrop's flying wing was simply one massive wing. This design was meant to improve efficiency and stability in the air. In 1929, test pilot Eddie Bond flew the first prototype of the N-1M at a dry lake bed in California, now known as Edwards Air Force Base. Early tests were promising, showing that the flying wing could perform 25% better than regular planes of similar size. But with the Great Depression hitting, Northrop was forced to sell his company to United Aircraft in 1930. However, Northrop didn't give up. In 1932, he founded a new company, the Northrop Corporation, and focused on developing all-metal aircraft. In the 1930s, his company produced successful aircraft like the Gamma and Delta, the latter of which famously crossed Antarctica in 1935. By 1940, Northrop's passion for flying wings had not died. He built a new prototype, the N-1M, which tested the flying wing concept further. The N-1M had drooping wingtips that could be adjusted to improve stability, but testing revealed they weren't necessary. Instead, Northrop moved forward with the next version, the N-9M. In 1941, the U.S. Army Air Force put out a call for a new bomber that could carry 10,000 pounds of bombs over 10,000 miles. Northrop responded with an updated flying wing design, leading to the creation of the XB-35. But things didn't go smoothly. There were huge challenges in building such a giant aircraft, and the Army Air Force's interest in flying wings started to fade. Still, Northrop didn't give up. He built smaller versions of the flying wing, known as the N-9M, to continue testing. These planes were powered by 269 horsepower engines and reached speeds of up to 160 km per hour. But tragedy struck when test pilot Max Constant died in a crash after a control failure in May 1943. To improve the design, Northrop modified the remaining planes, adding better control surfaces and more reliable engines. The flying wing's potential was clear, but it faced tough competition from other aircraft designs at the time. So why should you care about this forgotten aircraft today? Because the flying wing concept wasn't just a novelty, it laid the groundwork for future aircraft designs. It might surprise you to learn that flying wing designs are still being used in modern military aircraft like the B-2 Spirit bomber. Stay with us till the end to discover how this daring vision of aviation almost changed the sky forever. Could we have had flying wings dominating the skies by now? The answer may surprise you. Northrop's flying wing might have seemed like a failed experiment, but it was far ahead of its time. We'll uncover how these designs still influence cutting-edge military aircraft today. You won't want to miss how the lessons learned from Northrop's work shaped the future of aviation. Imagine a plane so strange and futuristic it could have come straight out of a science fiction movie. But it was real. In fact, it was called the XB-35, and it almost changed the way we think about bombers forever. But something went wrong, and this ambitious project ended in failure. What happened? Stick around to find out. So, what exactly was the XB-35? Built by Northrop during the 1940s, this aircraft was a massive flying wing, meaning it had no tail, no vertical stabilizers, just a giant, almost UFO-like design. It was supposed to be a revolutionary bomber for the US Air Force, capable of carrying large bomb loads long distances at high speeds. The XB-35 had 4 giant engines, each with 3,000 horsepower and a unique design with rotating propellers that worked together to help it fly efficiently. Imagine an aircraft with a wingspan nearly as long as a football field, and it was supposed to carry a bomb load of around 33,000 kilograms. But the XB-35 wasn't just big. It was packed with futuristic features for its time. It had a flight crew of 9, including a gunner in a transparent bubble, remote-controlled turrets, and even contra-rotating propellers, which were supposed to be more efficient. But here's the kicker: despite all its futuristic technology, the XB-35 faced one major problem after another. There were engine troubles, technical issues, and even safety problems that grounded the aircraft before it could fully prove itself. And as if that wasn't enough, the Air Force didn't want it anymore, even though it was one of the most advanced designs of its time. Why did the Air Force cancel this project and reject the plane? What did they think was better than this massive flying wing? And why did it fail to meet the most important requirement of all, carrying the new atomic bomb? In this video, we'll explore why the XB-35, despite its cutting-edge technology and bold design, was doomed from the start. Was it just too ahead of its time, or did the Air Force make a huge mistake? The XB-35's ambitious design, a flying wing with no tail, massive engines, and futuristic technology. Why the aircraft wasn't accepted despite its promise? The XB-35 couldn't carry the new atomic bomb and was considered outdated with the rise of jet engines. The failures that grounded the XB-35, from engine and propeller issues to safety concerns, the XB-35 never got the chance to show its full potential. The end of the flying wing, the XB-35's cancellation marked the end of the dream for a new kind of bomber. The XB-35 might have looked like the future, but it was a product of its time, and that time had passed. By the end of the 1940s, jet engines were taking over, and new bombers were being designed with more modern tech. The story of the XB-35 is a perfect example of how even the most ambitious designs can fail if the timing isn't right. What if I told you that a design so ahead of its time almost changed the course of aviation history, but the technology wasn't ready for it yet? In today's video, we are diving into one of the most ambitious and daring bomber aircraft ever made, the Northrop XB-35, and its jet-powered successor, the YB-49. These planes were way ahead of their time, but unfortunately, they couldn't overcome some major challenges. Stick around to find out how these flying wings paved the way for a future icon, the B-2 Spirit. Let's go back to the late 1940s. The US Air Force needed a bomber that could carry nuclear bombs deep into the heart of the Soviet Union. The XB-35, also known as the Flying Wing, was Northrop's attempt at this challenge. It had a radical design: no tail, no fuselage, just a huge, single wing. The idea behind this was to make the bomber more efficient and aerodynamic. But there was a problem: while it looked futuristic, it was too difficult to control. To make things better, Northrop decided to upgrade the design. In 1947, they took the XB-35, added 8 turbojet engines, and called it the YB-49. This was a major upgrade, and the results were impressive. The YB-49 could fly faster, up to 837 kilometers per hour, and had an endurance record, staying in the air for over 6 hours at 12,000 meters. However, it wasn't perfect. The extra weight from the engines reduced its range, payload capacity, and altitude, making it less effective for carrying nuclear bombs. It also had major control issues. Test pilot Glenn Edwards described it as the darnest airplane he'd ever flown, calling it uncontrollable at times. Tragically, during a test flight in 1948, the YB-49 broke apart midair, killing Edwards and his crew. Now, you might be thinking, how did this incredibly advanced aircraft fail? What happened next, and why are we talking about it today? The story takes an interesting twist as we look at the next big leap in bomber technology. Despite its failure, the lessons learned from the YB-49 would lead to one of the most famous bombers in history. You won't believe how it all connects. While the YB-49 was eventually cancelled in 1951, it wasn't the end of the flying wing concept. Even though the B-36 bomber replaced it, the lessons learned from the YB-49 would lay the groundwork for the B-2 Spirit, a bomber that would solve many of the same problems and become a key weapon in the Cold War. So, what can we learn from the XB-35 and YB-49? Even though these bombers couldn't meet the Air Force's needs, they were an important step in the evolution of military aviation. And eventually, the flying wing design would come full circle with the B-2 Spirit, which became one of the most advanced stealth bombers ever made. What do you think? If the technology had been there in the 1940s, could the YB-49 have changed the game? When the Cold War was at its peak, the United States had to find a way to make sure that no matter what happened, it could strike back at the Soviet Union with devastating force. This meant keeping a few bombers in the sky at all times, ready to deliver a nuclear strike if needed. But how did the US make sure these bombers could survive in a world where Soviet missiles and fighters were getting stronger every day? Today, we are going to explore the fascinating history of American bombers that played a critical role in maintaining peace during the Cold War, from the B-52 to the B-2 Spirit. In the 1950s, as the US Air Force relied on the B-52 Stratofortress, a long-range bomber that could carry a massive nuclear payload. But with Soviet air defenses rapidly improving, the B-52 wasn't invincible. By the early 1960s, high-flying aircraft like the B-52 were at risk from new Soviet surface-to-air missiles. That's when the US began looking for alternatives. To overcome these threats, two new bombers were developed, the B-58 Hustler and the XB-70 Valkyrie. These aircraft were fast, some even reached speeds of Mach 3, and could fly higher than anything the Soviets had at the time. But despite their impressive performance, they still couldn't escape the ever-growing Soviet missile threat. So, the US switched tactics. Instead of flying high or fast, they would fly low, hugging the terrain to stay hidden from enemy radar. However, these new tactics didn't work well for the B-58 or the XB-70, and both aircraft were retired or cancelled in the 1960s. That left the B-52 still in service, but the US needed a new bomber that could carry out the job of a high-speed, low-level penetrator. Enter the B-1 Lancer. The B-1 was designed to combine the speed of the B-58, the bomb load of the B-52, and the ability to fly low and avoid radar. But the project was full of problems. Development delays, rising costs, and new Soviet technology made the B-1 seem less necessary. In 1977, President Jimmy Carter cancelled the B-1 program, and it seemed like the US was left without a strategic bomber. But what happened next? The answer is something that changed the world of military aviation forever, a bomber that could practically disappear from radar. This next bomber, the B-2 Spirit, introduced a game-changing technology, stealth. Instead of relying on speed, altitude, or terrain, the B-2 could literally make itself invisible to enemy radar, giving it the ability to penetrate Soviet airspace undetected. This wasn't just another bomber, it was a revolution in military technology. So, what does the story of the B-52 B-1 and B-2 tell us? It shows how the US Air Force was constantly adapting to new threats during the Cold War. From the early days of high-flying, fast bombers to the age of stealth, these bombers played a vital role in keeping the peace by ensuring that the US had the ability to strike back at any moment. Stay tuned to learn more about the technology behind these bombers and how they shaped the Cold War. In the world of military aviation, the B-2 stealth bomber is one of the most iconic and mysterious aircraft ever built. But have you ever wondered how it came to be? What secrets lie behind its design? Today, we'll uncover the fascinating story of the B-2 from its origins in the 1970s to how it revolutionized modern warfare. Stick with us until the end to discover why this bomber is considered one of the most powerful, yet secretive machines ever created. The B-2's journey begins in 1974, when the US government wanted to create aircraft that could avoid enemy radar detection. This idea led to two major research projects, Have Blue and Tacit Blue, which explored new technologies for stealth. These projects would shape the future of military aviation. The US Air Force turned to companies like Lockheed and Northrop to help develop these stealth designs. Lockheed's Have Blue project focused on making airplanes that could hide from radar. This research led to the creation of the F-117 Nighthawk, the world's first operational stealth aircraft, which was famous for its jagged, facete design. It could fly deep into enemy territory, undetected, and strike with precision. The F-117 was used in several major conflicts, including the Gulf War and the 2003 Iraq War. On the other side, Northrop's Tacit Blue project worked with a very different design. They explored a unique flying wing shape, which was known to be naturally stealthy due to its smooth, rounded surfaces. However, achieving the perfect design wasn't easy. At the time, computers weren't powerful enough to calculate the complex shapes needed to make the aircraft invisible to radar. But by the early 1980s, technology had advanced enough, and Northrop created the YF-17D, a test aircraft that introduced a breakthrough, the fly-by-wire system. This system was a game-changer. It allowed unstable aircraft, like the flying wing design, to be controlled more easily by computers, making them safer to fly. Without fly-by-wire, aircraft like the YF-17D would have been too difficult to control manually. Meanwhile, another technology was evolving, the supercritical airfoil. Developed by NASA in the 1960s, this new wing design allowed aircraft to fly faster and more efficiently by reducing drag. It was a crucial development that allowed the flying wing design to become not just feasible but practical. By the late 1980s, these technologies came together to form the basis of the B-2 stealth bomber, or as it was known during development, the Advanced Technology Bomber, ATB. It was designed to be invisible to radar, capable of carrying out long-range missions deep into enemy territory without being detected. The B-2 combined the flying wing's stealth capabilities with modern technology to create one of the most advanced bombers the world has ever seen. But what makes the B-2 stealth bomber so special? Why is it still considered one of the most important military aircraft in history? There are secrets about its design, its missions, and its technology that are still hidden to this day. Want to know how the B-2 uses stealth to avoid radar and why its flying wing design is so crucial? Keep watching until the end to discover why the B-2's design is still considered ahead of its time. From its hidden history to the groundbreaking technologies behind its creation, the B-2 stealth bomber is not just a weapon, it's a symbol of innovation and a key factor in modern warfare. Stay tuned to uncover how this incredible aircraft continues to shape military strategies even decades after its first flight. The B-2 is not just an aircraft, it's a testament to how far technology and innovation can go. From the challenges of radar evasion to the breakthroughs in aerospace engineering, its story is one of determination, intelligence, and secrecy. If you want to learn more about how these technologies work together to create one of the world's most advanced bombers, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content just like this. The B-2 stealth bomber is still shrouded in mystery, but we're about to reveal how it changed the game in modern warfare. Imagine an aircraft so secretive that its very existence was hidden from the public for years. This is the story of the B-2 Spirit, America's most advanced stealth bomber. But what made this bomber so special, and why did it take nearly 2 decades to bring it into the skies? Stick around to discover how this high-tech marvel almost didn't make it, and the secrets behind its creation. The B-2 Spirit was the result of a fierce competition between two companies, Northrop and Lockheed. Northrop's design stood out with its sleek, flying wing shape, which helped it stay undetected by radar. The aircraft was initially a part of a top-secret program, which meant everything about its development was hidden from the public, and even the workers building it were under strict surveillance. Northrop's design, chosen in 1981, was refined over the years. The plane was officially rolled out in 1988 after years of secrecy. But building the B-2 wasn't easy. The project faced numerous delays and cost increases. Originally, the Air Force wanted a high-altitude bomber, but they changed their mind in the mid-1980s, turning the B-2 into a low-altitude interdictor. This new mission increased the cost and delayed its completion by 2 more years. Despite these challenges, the B-2's cutting-edge technology made it stand out. With a wingspan of 52 meters, the bomber has no tail or separate stabilizers, just one large, continuous wing. It's also incredibly automated, with systems that allow just 2 crew members to operate it for long flights. Powered by 4 engines, the B-2 can reach speeds of nearly Mach 1 and travel up to 11,000 kilometers without refueling. And when it reaches its target, the B-2 can carry up to 18,000 kilograms of bombs, both conventional and nuclear, using GPS-guided systems for precision strikes. But why is the B-2 still shrouded in mystery today? Despite being unveiled to the public in 1988, much of the aircraft's technology remains classified. Even today, only a few dozen of these bombers are in operation, making them extremely rare and powerful tools in the US military arsenal. But the real question is, what does the future hold for this incredible aircraft? And what other hidden technologies might the B-2 be protecting? Stealth design. The B-2's flying wing shape makes it nearly invisible to radar. Top secret development. The plane was built in complete secrecy, with strict security measures to keep its details hidden. Cost overruns and delays. The B-2 program was one of the most expensive military projects in history, with delays adding to the cost. Impressive technology. From automation that allows just 2 crew members to fly it, to advanced radar and navigation systems, the B-2 is a technological marvel. Rare and powerful, only a few B-2s remain in service, making them one of the most exclusive aircraft in the world. The B-2 Spirit is a symbol of America's military ingenuity, shrouded in secrecy and built with cutting-edge technology. Whether it's the rare stealth capabilities or the mysterious backstory of its development, the B-2 continues to capture the imagination of aviation enthusiasts and military experts alike. And with its future uncertain, who knows what new secrets it might reveal in the years to come. The B-2 Spirit, one of the most advanced aircraft ever built, has an amazing secret: it's nearly invisible to radar. But how does it achieve this near-perfect stealth? Today, we are diving into the mind-blowing design features that make the B-2 Spirit a true marvel of engineering. Stick around to discover the fascinating details behind its radar-evading technology and the hidden challenges that came with building it. The B-2 Spirit was designed with one main goal: to avoid being detected by enemy radar. Its unique shape plays a major role in this. The aircraft's shape was carefully crafted using advanced computer simulations to deflect radar signals away from the plane. This was a huge challenge because while stealth needs sharp, clean lines, aerodynamics requires a more rounded design for better flight performance. To balance both, the B-2's wings have a special leading edge that changes shape smoothly. This avoids radar hot spots while still keeping the plane aerodynamically efficient. You'll notice the plane's shape looks like a bird's wings, which gives it an unusual but effective profile. The B-2 also has no vertical tail fins, which are usually flat surfaces that can reflect radar. Instead, it uses a mix of split rudders, elevens, combined elevator and ailerons, and engine thrust to maintain control. But that's not all. The design choices that make the B-2 invisible to radar go down to the tiniest details. The materials used, the internal structure, even the special coating on the plane, every choice contributes to making the aircraft as stealthy as possible. And there's one major design flaw that led to the costliest crash in aviation history, but we'll get into that later. Trust me, you won't want to miss that part. The B-2 Spirit is so stealthy its radar cross-section is almost non-existent, less than 0.1 square meters. In fact, as of now, there's no record of a B-2 ever being hit by enemy air defenses. It's not just the radar that makes the B-2 nearly invisible, the aircraft also hides its heat signature and reduces its visibility in the sky. The engines are tucked away inside the wings, and the exhaust is specially cooled to avoid being seen by infrared sensors. In fact, the B-2 can change its altitude automatically to avoid creating contrails, those white lines you see behind planes that can give them away. All of these groundbreaking design features make the B-2 Spirit an absolute legend in aviation history. It's not just about technology, it's about precision, innovation, and pushing the limits of what's possible in aircraft design. But as we'll see in the next video, not all of its advanced features came without problems. Stay tuned for more on this incredible aircraft, including the one mistake that led to the most expensive crash in aviation history. Have you ever wondered what makes the B-2 stealth bomber so unique and why it's considered one of the most expensive aircraft ever built? In today's video, we are diving deep into the world of this cutting-edge technology, from its sky-high price tag to its groundbreaking capabilities. Stick around, because by the end, you'll understand why the B-2 is truly a game-changer for the US Air Force. The B-2 Spirit, also known as the stealth bomber, is an incredible piece of military technology. When it first entered service in 1997, each B-2 aircraft cost about $737 million, close to $1.4 billion in today's money. But that's just the beginning. With development costs added in, each B-2 bomber totaled nearly $2.3 billion. That makes the B-2 not only one of the most expensive bombers in history, but also the priciest military aircraft ever built. But it's not just the upfront cost that's high. The B-2 is also extremely expensive to maintain. The aircraft's special stealth coating, which allows it to avoid radar detection, is fragile and needs constant care. To preserve its stealth capability, the B-2 has to be kept in special climate-controlled hangars, each costing a staggering $5 billion. And every 7 years, the bomber undergoes a major overhaul, costing around $60 million to repair and replace its radar-absorbing coating. This might sound like a huge price to pay, but the B-2's capabilities are unmatched. The cost of maintaining and flying it is so high that, initially, the US Air Force wanted to buy 132 B-2 bombers. But as you'll see, that number quickly dropped. By 1991, after the Soviet Union collapsed, the need for so many B-2s was in question. So, why did the US stick with such an expensive program? And what made the B-2's technology so important for military operations around the world? Keep watching to find out how the B-2 proved its worth in real-world combat and why it's still in service today. Despite its immense cost, the B-2 bomber has earned its place in history. In its first major combat mission during the 1999 Kosovo War, B-2s were responsible for 11% of all NATO bombs dropped, and they destroyed a third of all Serbian military targets. What's even more incredible is that these aircraft don't need to stop for refueling. They can fly thousands of miles non-stop, demonstrating just how advanced this bomber is. Stay tuned as we explore more about the B-2's incredible missions, its role in shaping modern warfare, and how it continues to operate today. The B-2 Spirit bomber is one of the most advanced and powerful aircraft in the world. But did you know this cutting-edge flying machine has faced some serious problems over its long service? Despite its incredible technology, the B-2 isn't without flaws. Today, we'll take a closer look at why this bomber is so unique, the issues it's faced, and how its future is looking. Stick around until the end to find out why this aircraft might soon be replaced by something even more advanced. The B-2 Spirit, also known as the stealth bomber, has been in service since the 1990s, and during that time, it has achieved some remarkable feats. From carrying out key missions in the war on terror to helping enforce no-fly zones, the B-2 has proven itself as an essential part of the US military's strategic arsenal. In March 2011, for example, the B-2 dropped 40 bombs on a Libyan airfield as part of NATO's Operation Odyssey Dawn. This was a crucial strike in the NATO mission to enforce the Libyan no-fly zone. Then, in 2017, B-2 bombers dropped precision-guided munitions on an ISIS training camp in Libya, eliminating 85 militants. However, not everyone agreed with using such an expensive aircraft to target insurgents who didn't even have anti-aircraft weapons. Critics pointed out that using a $2 billion plane to fight poorly armed militants seemed like overkill. Despite these high-profile successes, the B-2 has faced serious challenges. It's not all smooth flying for this stealth bomber. In fact, there have been some major issues with the aircraft that have made some people question whether it was worth the cost. And with new, more advanced bombers coming into the picture, the B-2 might soon be grounded for good. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the B-2's future is uncertain despite its incredible abilities. You won't want to miss what's next for this aircraft that cost billions to develop. The B-2 Spirit may look like the perfect bomber, but it's not without its flaws. One of its biggest problems happened during early flight tests when its radar-absorbing coating was easily damaged by rain. This made it hard to fly in bad weather, which was a big issue for a plane designed to deploy anywhere in the world within 24 hours. Over time, the Air Force made improvements, adding GPS systems, satellite communication, and new weapons like the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, JASSM. However, despite these upgrades, the B-2's biggest problem still remains: it's expensive. With only 21 of these bombers in service, losing just one would be a massive financial hit. The B-2 has had some serious accidents too. The most famous one happened in 2008 when the Spirit of Kansas crashed during takeoff from Guam. Thankfully, the crew ejected safely, but the aircraft was destroyed. The crash was the most expensive plane crash in history. And since then, there have been several other accidents, leading to the grounding of the fleet for repairs. So, what does the future hold for the B-2 Spirit? Originally, the US Air Force planned to keep it in service until 2058. But now, due to high costs and the development of newer aircraft, the B-2 might be retired by 2040. In its place, the US is developing the B-21 Raider, a next-generation stealth bomber that promises to be more cost-effective and even more advanced. But here's the catch: development delays are common in military projects. If the B-21 is delayed, the US Air Force might be left with only one operational strategic bomber, the B-52 Stratofortress, which has been in service since 1954. It's clear that while the B-2 Spirit has had an incredible service history, its time might soon be over. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the B-2 Spirit, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more content about the world's most advanced military aircraft. The B-2 Spirit, one of the most advanced bombers ever built, has an incredible service record, but it's not without its share of problems. From its high cost to some unique engineering challenges, this stealth bomber has had a fascinating journey since its debut in the 1990s. But can it survive the test of time, or will the B-21 Raider replace it soon? Stay tuned to learn why this $2 billion aircraft is both a marvel and a mystery. The B-2 Spirit is unlike any other bomber in the world. Designed to be virtually invisible to radar, it has carried out important missions since entering service in 1997. Its most famous moments include striking targets in Iraq and Libya, showcasing its ability to hit enemies with precision from thousands of miles away. But while it's a key tool for the US military, it's also a symbol of the problems in modern military aviation. Despite its advanced technology, the B-2 has faced significant challenges. In its early years, the plane had issues with its radar-absorbing coating, which could be easily damaged by rain. This meant the aircraft couldn't fly in bad weather, something crucial for a bomber that was supposed to be ready to strike anywhere at any time. Fortunately, these problems were fixed over the years, but the B-2 still has ongoing issues. Its cost is another big challenge. At $2 billion per aircraft, it's incredibly expensive to build and maintain. And with only 21 B-2s in service, losing one would be a huge blow to the US Air Force. In fact, in 2008, one B-2 crashed during takeoff, costing the military over $1 billion in a single accident, still the most expensive plane crash in history. But wait, here's the catch, the B-2 is already being phased out. In 2011, the Air Force announced plans to retire both the B-2 and B-1 bombers by 2040. Why? Because the future is all about the B-21 Raider, an even more advanced stealth bomber that promises to be cheaper and more reliable. The B-21 is set to enter service in 2027, but there are still plenty of questions. Will it be ready on time? What happens if the B-21 gets delayed? The B-2 Spirit may not be around much longer, but its place in history is secure. Despite all the technical challenges, it pushed the boundaries of what was possible in aviation. Its sleek design and advanced technology made it one of the most powerful bombers ever built. But with new innovations like the B-21 coming soon, the future of stealth bombers is about to change. The B-2 Spirit may be retiring soon, but its legacy will live on as one of the greatest military aircraft ever created. It's a reminder that even the most advanced technology faces challenges, and sometimes, what looks like the future today may just be a stepping stone to something even better tomorrow. If you want to see how the B-2 compares to the new B-21 Raider, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our future videos. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts on the B-2 Spirit's future. See you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. We really hope you enjoyed learning about the B-2 Spirit and its fascinating history. It's a plane that has shaped modern aviation in many ways, and its journey is far from over, even though it's being replaced soon. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, it really helps out the channel. Also, leave a comment below telling us what you think about the B-2 Spirit's future. Do you think the B-21 Raider will live up to the hype? Or do you think the B-2 has more life left in it than we realize? We'd love to hear your thoughts on the new stealth bombers and any other aircraft topics you want us to cover in future videos. You can also share this video with friends who are into military aviation or history, let's get the conversation going. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest videos. We've got plenty more content coming your way, and you definitely don't want to miss out. Hit the bell icon so you'll be notified as soon as our next video drops. Again, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one, where we'll dive into even more aircraft history and what the future holds for military aviation. Until then, take care and fly high.